Buongiorno Mondo, and welcome back to 15 with Fosca, the podcast, and to part 2 of my conversation with singer, songwriter, and fellow U.S. expat Sherrita Duran. Last week's episode covered Sherrita's journey to Italy, but this week we take a deeper dive into her life, art, faith, and her creative process, and discover the ways that Italy and her spirituality inspire her and her music every day. Grazie mille e buon ascolto. So you have a new album coming out. You are prolific. You write a lot.
Oh, well, thank you. Prolific. I like that word. That's so kind of you.
So what is it about Italy that you think inspired that creativity, or even maybe it's just your life, or that you found your place, or your identity as a singer and as a songwriter?
Wow, it's a complex question, and I'm going to try to answer it. I don't know if I can. However, I will say this. Being taken out of my comfort zone, maybe you would say the United States, put in a completely different environment with all these different variables, other things come out that you don't expect. You know what I'm saying? It's like when I was in the United States, I was so focused on being the soprano, and that I wasn't thinking about writing music. But I will say this, that I believe that me being a songwriter has come out, it is born out of a spiritual need.
Okay.
For me. And the spiritual need is this, that, I've written, since I've been in Italy, I've written songs with other people. People send me dance music or other songs, and they'll send me the instrumental, and I'll write the words and give me an idea. But when I write for me, I want to talk about God. I want to talk about Jesus Christ.
Okay.
That is who I am. I could talk about anything. I want to talk about spiritual things. I want to talk about, because I feel like that's what gives me strength. So it was born out of a spiritual need for me, and that makes me feel more connected to God, because in these songs I'll read the Bible and focus on maybe a specific verse that in that moment I feel like, oh, this is what I need. This is like my rock for what I'm going through now. And then it ends up being transformed into a whole song, And so I found that I think the first album I did in Italy was called Time of the Butterfly. And those songs some of it go back to 2007. I remember I gave birth in 2010. I remember at the album release party in 2010, I was 8 months pregnant, big old stomach, and with heels, and at the album release party, well, I finally did it, And so that was a big deal for me, because I'm, not this great accomplished pianist. So what happens is, when I hear music, I hear all of it, as if I hear the orchestra, I hear the choir, I hear every part of it, and it's like the song, it's like touching a button, and then I just have a soundtrack going in my head, sometimes day and night. If I'm writing something, I'll hear it even just before I go to sleep. I'll dream about it. I'll wake up at the middle of the night and go into the studio and change something and do that. It became this, I would say, this personal love relationship, love letter thing with me and God. That's how I see it for me, And so a lot of these songs also, because you have themes of healing and love and forgiveness and courage, and I thought, I'm sure these songs aren't just for me, because other people are need encouragement.
Absolutely.
And I personally, I listen to everything. Even when I was in college, I have a vast musical collection, everything, jazz, pop, orchestral music, piano music, classical music, everything, But I think when I listen to the radio now, for me, it's so dumbed down and so dark and so trivial, and I just think, I don't want to listen to this. I think this gives me nothing. And I think in the world right now is so dark on top of that.
Right.
I think darker than ever, and I think in what I can do, in whatever capacity I can, I want to be the opposite of that. I want to bring light. I want to bring faith. I want to bring a message that can connect people to God and say God is there, and not only did he die on the cross for us, but he is alive. He's not like on a statue in a church, attached to the cross. He is risen.
Yeah.
He is resurrected. He is alive, and he wants a personal relationship with every one of us. It's not this detached God in the distance with that whole. No, he wants a personal relationship with us. And I always give this example. It may make you laugh. It may be kind of cheesy or cringe, as they would say.
As our daughters would say.
As our daughters would say, cringe. But, it's like if I go to church every Sunday and sit in the pew, that doesn't make me a Christian, just like going to McDonald's every day makes me a hamburger.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's like,
made me laugh.
I'm not going to, because I go to McDonald's,
right.
I'm not going to turn into a hamburger.
Exactly. Right.
But it's like I could go there and be detached, but it's something every day that I want to think about. And these songs for me are alive in that way, where it comes from my own personal need to connect with something spiritual that the Bible says, and that I feel flood my soul, and if I could add to that, because the last album, the songs that you're listening to are part of the last album I did in 2021, Remnant Song. And most of those songs I wrote during the pandemic. Not all of them, but most of them. And my process now is literally me going out with the dog in the morning or in the afternoon, walking out in the middle of the field and in the middle of nature, and I just pray. I just talk to God as if he was a person walking with me. I just open my heart. I cry. I sing. And these songs, they come to me like downloads. Yeah. I literally, I'm always walking around with my phone to record melodies, and they just come as downloads. And I hear all of it. I hear the choir, I hear the parts, I hear the orchestra, I hear. But however, me not having the vast piano, the frustration, I go back to my studio and I'm there, as I say, with like tredita, with like three fingers trying to play out all this complex music that I hear in my head, So what I'll do is, it may take time, but I'll play out the themes. I'll sing through it, and now I'm better with playing the chords and stuff like that.
Okay.
But with the last album, I will say, most of the credit goes to a great pianist, my friend and personal pianist, Aldo Bulgaroni.
Okay.
And he lives in Binalgo, and he is truly a genius. I call him my Italian John Williams, because he literally is just outside the box. And I had a concert in 2020, in that weird year where nobody wants to remember that. I had like two concerts like during when the lockdown
when we had that really weird narrow window of opportunity. Okay, things are open for like a month now. Go.
Yeah, exactly. The one concert that came when the lockdown, like they let us out of our houses, and he says, these, and I said, I want to do a couple of these songs of mine. And he says, I would love to arrange these. And he blew my mind with the arrangements that he did. For example, on the album, he arranged Beautiful Deep. He did...
That's the song. Beautiful Deep.
Yeah,
That's the song that I was listening to last night. I'm getting chills because I listened to it over and over again. It's absolutely phenomenal.
Thank you.
Yeah, I love, and so I'm glad that you mentioned it. Yeah. That's the song. That was the one I couldn't come up with. Yes.
Wow, he did that arrangement.
It's a beautiful arrangement.
Thank you.
Really beautiful. And I love the fact that you've shared with us your creative process, and it seems very magical to me the way your music comes to you. It seems I don't know how many people have that. And it really does sort of further reinforce how much of a vocation this is for you, and how much maybe you really did need to come to Italy to find your voice.
Oh, you know what you just said right now is so profound. And I will say this about, finding the voice, because even, how do I put it? Let me think for 1 second how to word this. Even though, I may do concerts here or there, I've done things on TV, I've sung different, very important things as well, or singing for other people, other songs of other famous artists, it doesn't mean that it fulfills me. You know what I'm saying?
I
Like
do, yeah.
artistically,
Yeah.
it's a job.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
It's like it's the truth. It's a job, and sometimes you get that experience where the job actually meets with like your talent, and you're like, oh, I love this.
Right.
You don't always have that.
No.
But you still do your best.
That's right.
That's what a professional is. You know,
Uh-huh.
you don't always get to sing what you love and where you want to sing it, how you want to sing it, but you do your best. However, with the songwriting part, this is what I want to. And not everything I write, I don't feel like it's always for me. Some of it, I feel like, man, this is for a male voice, but I'm gonna sing it anyway because I don't know who to give it to,
Right.
Or who's
Right.
gonna record it. So, and during the last album, because it was like, lockdown period, I sang every single part in the album, like and I thought I want to do this, I wanted a choir actually for Oh Jesus, and I wanted a choir for God of Glory, The Return.
Yeah.
But I thought, well, where am I going to get the choir?
How are you going to do that via Zoom?
Yeah, how am I going to do that?
Yeah.
And
it was impossible here.
So I just literally sang all the parts,
Good for you.
And in the future, I could, now I could probably find a choir, but now I'm writing other music,
Right.
and I don't want to go back and have to put it to that because I've got other songs
Right.
where I need to have a choir to and all that. But so yeah, I feel like that expresses what I believe and what I love, and what I love is to talk about Jesus. That anybody who knows me, it's like that's what I love, because I when he says in the Bible that he is the way, the truth, and the life. He is, and I believe that with all of my being. And I feel like in the music, it's a gift.
Mm-hmm.
And I
It
do
definitely
believe,
is,
and I
Sherrita.
do believe it's a vocation.
You're a vessel.
And
I do believe that.
thank you. And I just feel like I want to be that vessel that 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 God can flow through music like that.
Mm-hmm.
Even though I may, like have to sing other things as a job.
But that's okay because
yeah.
it comes out. And I want to I want to get back to that because we did meet at a charity event that you were singing at. Well, we didn't meet. As I mentioned early on, I saw you. I didn't want to seem like a stalker. So I didn't. It's true. So I kind of admired you from afar. And then I literally DM'd you on Instagram the day after. I started following you immediately. And I was like, hey, by the way, I was at the charity event last night. And wow, you're awesome. And at an event like that.
Yeah, which was a beautiful event.
Oh, man.
It was so stunning.
And we would have had a really good time that night if I had, if I had actually had the courage to be like, hey, Sherrita, I'm Fosca, I'm American. It's okay next time. Wow. But you did a lot of really varied stuff that night, and you made people very happy because you also do, you do pop and you do dance and you do stuff that Italians love, right? And so here, this crowd of Italians so happy with whatever you're singing. But when you see how much joy you're giving people, right? Even if it's not your stuff or not even maybe your favorite stuff, how does that, it must feel great.
Well, it does, in the sense that, like I said, in a work situation, requests come in all the time to do things where you're like, can I sing something else? But it's like, or like things you're thinking, wow, I don't know, but you show up, you do the best that you can, and you try to give the best that you can, And when you see people that are receptive to that, it does bring you joy, because you're like, that means that you're transmitting.
Yeah.
Which I think obviously that goes beyond technique.
For sure.
Music just goes beyond every barrier, goes beyond language barriers. People, you're so transparent when you're up there.
Absolutely.
And I think that that evening was beautiful.
It was incredible.
Public was amazing.
And I think what I took away, besides the fact that it was just a phenomenal event for a very important charity, Progetto Ithaca. I'm a volunteer, and Sherrita was performing that night, and at our fundraising gala. But what my impression, just looking at you, was like, wow, not only are you very talented, but you have this wonderful energy about you, right? This light.
Thank you.
This warmth. And that comes out, this heart. I think it's about heart, and what you were saying before. It doesn't, it's not about the technique. It's, or even what you're saying before about how important it was for you to learn the words. How can you play Violetta if you don't know what she's singing about? You know what I'm saying? So that comes through. And I don't know that every performer and I see a lot of live music, and I have seen a lot of my life, but that was something that I think immediately drew me to you, on a more human level. And I do want to pivot a little, and I want to move a little to, because I think we did bond over a few very important things. And I think one of those things was the fact that we're both raising teen daughters here in Italy. And I do want to hear a little bit about that. How has that been for you?
Wow. Well, first of all, I'm glad that Noelle has double citizenship,
Oh, yeah.
Italian
Greatest gift that I
citizenship.
gave my child. I tell her all the time.
Exactly. And maybe when they were little they didn't appreciate it, having like dual citizenship, being a US citizen and an Italian citizen. And also from the womb, I'm like, you will be speaking English. Because
Exactly.
I just, I've met so many women, friends of mine, that I don't understand how a mother could not transmit to their child their language.
It's your mother tongue, and it's called that for a reason.
Exactly.
It's your madrelingua for a reason. It's the language of your mother.
And so many people don't do that.
Right. It's crazy.
I can't relate to that.
Neither can I.
And I'm just like, so even when she was inside, I was speaking to her
Me
in
too.
English, reading to her in English.
Same.
And
Singing to her in English.
Singing to her in English. And when she came out, she had all of her cartoons in English.
Same.
Everything in English. Because what I said is, obviously, look, we're in Italy. Obviously, she's going to speak Italian because it's everywhere.
That's right.
Plus, everyone in the family, apart from my husband, no one speaks English. So everyone's going to speak to her in Italian. All the school system in Italian. If I don't transmit English, she won't speak it. So you will be speaking English, is what I would say to her. So I remember, she loved English as when she was very small. Now she's bilingual.
Right.
And but I feel like now I get on her, says, look, just because you're also American, that doesn't mean that you can just like, how do you say it? Like prendere sotto gamba, be like, oh, this is so easy. Like you have to like still learn the grammatical rules here.
Oh, yeah.
Because even though she can speak it, so now also terza media now.
That's a little challenging too at the schools. It's hard. It hasn't been easy for my daughter because
it's the British.
It's the British thing, and then also it's sort of this. I don't know how to say this nicely. I won't say it. But it's sort of sometimes when you're a native speaker, the teachers don't always appreciate it. Some of them do.
Okay.
And they'll use her sort of like as a teaching assistant.
Okay.
But some don't.
Really?
Uh-huh. And also she's at a point now, just an FYI, what your future is going to look like in a few years, depending on what high school Noelle chooses.
Okay.
But Jada's studying stuff like Chaucer now, which is hard.
Wow.
Yeah. And so, yeah. So in her English at the high school.
Okay, which high school is she going to?
She's in a classico.
Okay. Oh, wow.
And so in her English, she's studying like
My
Beowulf.
gosh. My goodness.
Like really
Yeah.
intense stuff.
Yeah.
So, it's hard. She has to study.
Yeah.
You have to study. You just ask an average 16-year-old American how much they know about Chaucer.
My goodness.
They won't even know what I'm sorry, but I don't mean to sound rude. But so anyway, we could go on about that for a long time. But are there moments where you're like, oh my goodness, this would be so much easier if I were in the United States?
You know what? I think I read your mind before you asked the question. And I will say that I think the best of both worlds. I mean, first of all, that she's fluent in both languages. However, the thing at this point of school, at this level of school, I will say, and I'm just going to be very honest, because at night we have this routine, and I'm glad that we still have this routine. Even when she grows up and she's 20, I hope that we'll, if she's still, living with us, whatever, we'll have this routine where we lay there and she's like, Mom, tell me a mommy story. Or tell me a Pookie story. Pookie is her nickname.
Right.
I'll tell her a story like when she was little, what she used to do. And she's like, tell me a mommy story. What was school like for you? And when I tell her what school was like for me in the United States, she's like, what? And it saddens me because I have great memories of school, teachers that inspired me, all the extracurricular clubs that I was a part of. I was journalism club because I wanted to be a journalist, and then I would write for the school newspaper, and then the poetry club, and then the book club, and then the theater club, and she's like, "What?" I'm like, "Dude, this was normal for me, normal." And just now, and this is a testimony to the great teachers that I had that inspired me.
Yeah.
All the way up through like elementary school. I can remember Mrs. Smith, my fifth grade teacher that transmitted me this passion for reading. I remember her reading the Chronicles of Narnia.
Yeah.
And I fell in love with like Tolkien through her. And then my art teacher and my music history teacher and that. And my daughter is not getting that here.
Yeah.
And that is just the truth. And I feel that, unfortunately, a lot that has come across, not all the teachers have been this way. I think it's a mindset, but to be so negative and to put the kids down. And I think that is wrong.
So different from us. I always joke that, in the U.S., you get a trophy, a gold star just for, showing up. And in Italy, it's like you're constantly being just like, even if you do really, really well on a test, you're never going to get a 10. Oh. It won't, it's very rare.
Yeah.
Even if there's no mistake. And but so in a way it's good because it's like the school of life. So you're kind of not set up for disappointment because you're already so used to being criticized.
Because you're already beat up.
Because you're already beat up all the time. Whereas I think as Americans, I'm like, well, I'm just like awesome, because I get a trophy even just for participating or whatever. But it is something that I struggle with as well, even especially now that she's a teenager and, there are some extracurriculars at high school, at her high school, but when I was in high school,
it was a world.
It was fun too. Because in addition to like sports and theater and singing and this and that, like I went out. I had there were parties, friends. I was in New York City in the 80s. It was wild, and she just is very studious. And the system it's a little less based on, let's say, also the talents of the individual, and that's something that I think is very hard for me to come to terms with, because I think if you're a nonconformist in the system, it is a little harder for you.
It tries to basically
break your spirit.
No, it's true.
It's really hard.
So I don't like the Italian school system. Let me just say it. That at least from my personal experience, I haven't liked it so far.
Okay.
And I will say that eventually, and I say to her, no, well, maybe, who knows? Maybe in the future we'll go back to the States. She's already, you know what? I'm going to get through this, and then we're going to go to New York, and I'm going to go to NYU. Oh. And I'm like, well, good.
That's Jada's first choice, too.
It's like, because she can't relate to my incredible experience of school, which was tough, by the way. But I think that you're direct,
tough but different.
And competitive.
Exactly.
I feel like in the States, like when you are awarded something in school, you worked your butt off for that. Because the competition was so tight. You know what I'm saying? You don't, at least from my school experience, like if you got an award or something, you worked your tail off for that because the kids would really study, put a lot of work in it. And so the to be recognized in something, it meant something. Yeah. And, you're always going to find the teacher anywhere that I think should, that hates life, frustrated, and just vomits all the frustration on the kids. So what I try to tell Noelle is, you know what? This is the last year at this school. You don't have to see this person again. But it's important that you don't let this person break your spirit. Right. You do your best. Whether you feel like it or not, you need to show up and don't phone it in. I have to give her the old American slang, phone it in, don't phone it in. You need to show up and do your best. And don't and be respectful. Don't you ever open your mouth and speak and respond badly to the teacher ever.
Ever. Yeah, you and I are definitely on the same. I'm exactly
Oh
the
no,
same.
because dude, today with the kids, it's crazy, man.
I know. No. It's also the parents are not
Yeah.
like
Oh
always
man.
great.
You
Let's
know
not even
what?
go there.
That's a whole other interview.
That's a
with
different
the parents.
podcast.
That's a whole other podcast.
So we are coming to the end of our conversation, and I would love to ask you what's next for Sherrita.
Wow, what's next for Sherrita?
And please let me come. And I want to come. Whatever concert it is or whatever. But you do so many things. You do TV commercials. You do concerts. You do a million charity events with really famous people. So what you have new music coming out. So tell me just in literally 3 minutes, some things that we can look forward to in, we're recording just so people know it's Easter week here in Florence, and it's so just springtime. What's coming up for the spring and the summer of 2024?
Wow. Okay. Speaking of, you'd mentioned TV commercials, and a couple of weeks ago, I did a TV commercial for an American insurance company, which has not yet come out yet.
Okay.
But it's called Lemonade.
Okay.
And I can't wait for it to come out because I had so much fun doing this.
Oh, that sounds awesome.
And also I did created all the vocal parts for myself and for the other two singers that were like the backup singers and stuff like that with the choreography. It was so much fun. Great.
I'm so glad.
So that was exciting. However, I don't have a release date for that.
Okay.
So I'm just going to be looking out for that.
Okay.
And right now, like in the moments, like obviously December, every month is not like December where you have 27 concerts.
Thank goodness, though.
Because you have the family and everything and life, and so at this moment I'm focused on writing my songs, and I have a lot of songs. Actually, if I wanted to, I could do 3 albums right now with all the music I have.
Wow!
Except that I'm not thinking of doing 3 albums right now. I'm thinking about I just recently finished up a single, and I have a couple of other songs that I want to get arranged, so I have to like meet up with my arranger Aldo, pianist, and get those organized because I have epic gospel songs that I want to record, but in New York, because with the African American gospel choir, it has to be done like that. That's what I hear, and that's what I want. So those songs are there until I can organize it. I don't know if it's going to happen this year, but that's in the.
It's definitely
it's in
the works.
It's in the works to go back to New York City.
Nice.
And with my old, like my peoples,
nice.
Like my old team, and to get like some great voices together and put down the gospel voices for a couple of my songs. And while there's still, events coming up and preparing new repertoire for upcoming events. So I feel like it's always about multitasking. You know what I'm saying? It just feels like, and I don't know about you, Fosca, but can you believe like we're already coming to Easter? No. I feel like last month was January. What happened?
I don't know.
Already coming up to Easter.
Yeah.
And so I feel like on the inside of me, there's a part of me that's like, okay, I'm not going to freak out. The time is racing. And I feel like,
I know, always.
And
it's too much.
And I feel like you can only do so much, and you can't live with that kind of stress. No. And so I feel like the songs, like as you know, for me is like a way of me connecting, keeping me focused on spiritual things and positive things and being connected to God through that.
Right.
As opposed to, what's going on here? And this. And I felt like even singing, and so one of the questions that you had sent me, which I'd like to answer now if I can.
Absolutely.
Like, what am I listening to now?
Yes.
I do go back often into certain types of music that I love. Like, for one, I will throw this out there. I love Pat Metheny. I love like almost everything that he's done. So, and I have like most of his albums. But at the moment, my soundtrack is the current song that I'm writing. And the reason why that is because until that song is like completely arranged, it's constantly playing in my head. It's there. I'm rearranging it. I'm adding this to it. I'm like, okay, this is the guitar. Now I got to find the guitarist who can play like R&B guitar for this. And then, okay, now I need this. So that is like the soundtrack right now, like one of the songs that I'm doing.
I love that though. And I want to end on that note, if you will, and if nobody minds the awful pun that I just made. But when you were speaking earlier about your creative process, and it just sort of came back to me now, this image of you walking through nature, and really connecting in that way, and the music coming to you. I think it's sort of a beautiful way to end our conversation, but also it really shows what you're really like, not only your creative process, not only who you are as a performer, but really who you are as a human being. And I'm just grateful that you came to have this talk with me today, and I hope you'll come back. I hope we can do another recording. I know you'll be happy to come back to Florence, and hopefully next time the trains will run a little better. It's been a bit of a chaotic day for public transportation in Italy. Who knows why? But you have an open invitation to the podcast, and I hope you'll come back.
Oh, I will, definitely.
Grazie
Definitely,
mille.
Thank you.
Grazie.
Thank you. Grazie.